Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's DMV Distributing Virtual Vino. I'm Alicia, your host for this evening, and I have a special guest joining me from Paris Valley Road Winery, Blake. We are going to taste through 4 of the Paris Valley Road wines. They are all from Paso Robles, California. Before we get started with that though, if you guys want to say hi in the comments, let me know that you're on and joining us so I know you're here. Just tell me where you're drinking with us from and give me a little wave, thumbs up, heart, likes, whatever you want to do. Wait for some people to get on before we get started. Hey, Erica. Erica went with me to Paris Valley Road when we went out to California. Also, if you don't already follow us on Facebook and YouTube, if this is your first virtual vino with us, make sure you hit the like button. You can always find our virtual vinos on Facebook and YouTube. You can watch live with us every other Thursday. We do this twice a month on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Hi, Jess in Annapolis. Looks like we have some more people joining. We'll just give it a minute before we get started. Make sure you have your red wines open and you're letting them breathe. If you're going through all the wines with us, we'll get started with the white, and then when we get to the reds, you'll already have them open, and hopefully they'll be nice and open for you. Hi, Marty from Rochester, New York. Hi, Heather. All right, and also, if you don't already follow us, make sure you're following us over on Instagram. Starting tomorrow, we'll be doing a giveaway. It looks like we are doing a custom wine charm set from Crofton Craftaholic. If you follow us and share on our Instagram with your friends, you will see that giveaway come up. So make sure you go over to Instagram and give us a follow over there. Hopefully everybody joining us tonight was able to find these wines easily at your local liquor store. If you weren't, make sure you mention it to your liquor stores, and they can always ask your DMV distributing sales rep to bring them in for you. We're always happy to help. You can send us a private message too if you need help finding them. Tonight, it looks like they were available at Plaza Liquors, Eddie's in Charles Village, Downtown Beer and Wine, Bradley Food and Beverage in Bethesda, and Rodman's in DC. So those were all the liquor stores that had the tasting bags for you to purchase tonight. Hopefully you were able to get to one of those stores and find them easily. Let's see who else joined us over here. Hi, Ben from Baltimore. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. All right, so before we get to today's guest and all of these delicious wines, I'd like to let everyone know which wines we'll be featuring in 2 weeks on April 22nd on our next virtual vino. That will be a springtime wine tasting. So all of these wines will be great for spring. They're all in the price range of $12 to $15, and we will have the Lion and Dove Rosé, the Chateau of Vercolan, Signorio, and Tonel 22 Malbec. So we have a little bit of wines from all over the globe there, and they're all perfect for spring, all around $15 and under. Hey, Alan from Lake Leonor, and Kevin, also from Lake Leonor. We've got the neighborhood in here. We all live in the same neighborhood. All right. Also, I wanted to mention we're not tasting it tonight, but our Paris Valley Road Founders Blend, which is our red blend from Paris Valley Road, was recently written up in the Washington Post. Dave McIntyre gave it a excellent, extraordinary, great value. You can find it at many of your local liquor stores. And that's another excellent wine from the Paris Valley Road line that we are sampling tonight. And another one we just had in the Washington Post was our Chocolat wine. That was just given an extraordinary great value review by Dave McIntyre in the Washington Post as well last week. Okay, so don't hesitate to share your thoughts, comments, everything over in the comment section. We will share them up on screen. We want you guys interacting with us as much as possible. We want to know what you think about the wines, especially for me, since I'm not drinking because I'm pregnant. So I will be talking about the smell and look of the wines, and Blake will be talking more about the tasting of the wines tonight. But definitely, guys, have a drink for me since I will not be drinking. And so let's get started. Let's bring Blake on from Paris Valley Road, and he can tell us a little bit about himself.
All right, how's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for having me. So yeah, I'm Blake. I'm with Paris Valley Road Winery, and just a little bit about my background and kind of how I got started and got into the wine industry. I grew up in the Bay Area in Northern California, and my first exposure with wine was working a harvest for a small vineyard up in Northern California when I was a junior in high school. And after that, I kind of just got bit by the bug and got totally addicted and knew that's the direction I wanted to go in. So I ended up getting a degree in wine and viticulture from Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. And I've worked for the Stoller family, who is the owner of Paris Valley Road Winery, the whole time I was in college, and ended up sticking around and staying after I graduated, just because I'm so passionate about the family, love the wines, and just love the Central Coast. So I'm not sure if any of you have had the chance to get out to Paso Robles or the Central Coast, but we hope you do in the near future, and I'll make sure my information is available. If you ever do come visit, we'll get you set up with a tasting. But I want to talk a little bit kind of about our story, and then this is here. You can put that map back up. So when I refer to the Central Coast, that really kind of encapsulates the area between Monterey and Santa Barbara, as you can see on the map. And almost all the wines that we're going to be drinking tonight is from a particular part in between Monterey and Paso Robles and the San Lucas kind of ADA. So we have a 320-acre vineyard there. We call it our Chalk Knoll Vineyard. We grow everything that you're going to be drinking tonight. That's pretty much where that's from. So name of the winery, Paris Valley Road, is actually named after the two-lane country road that wraps around that 320-acre vineyard. That's kind of where the name comes from. So without further ado, I think we should just move on into the Chardonnay and get going. And since Alicia is only smelling the wine, I think we all got to pick up the slack and have a couple extra glasses. Tomorrow is Friday. We're almost there.
Yes, definitely. It's Friday Eve, so have a glass for me. I love the color of the Chardonnay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll let you take the color part.
Okay, yes, I'll take the sight and the smell. You can do the tasting and pairing.
Awesome. Okay,
so the color, we have a very light, almost straw color. Oops, try and get in front of the camera. Very, very beautiful. And then on the nose, if you just want to give your wine a swirl in your glass, I get like a Honeycrisp kind of apple honeysuckle smell.
Absolutely. It's it got a little bit of minerality. I like to say sea spray. There's a little bit of sea spray on the nose, kind of that salty minerally that you get from the ocean.
Yes. You guys get those ocean breezes out there on the Central Coast.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I know, so Doug Heidinger is the name of our winemaker, and unfortunately he couldn't be with us tonight. But one of the things he always aims for when putting together a wine is he wants the nose and the palate to kind of match up. There's Doug right there. He wants the nose and the palate to kind of match up. So when you go in and you smell the wine, he wants that to be symmetrical with what you're actually going to get on the palate. So I think, as you know, do you want to add anything else to the nose, Alicia?
I
So
mean,
I
I'm
think
not
as we do,
any oak really on this. This is only lightly oaked, correct?
right, about 10%, 15% oak on this guy.
Okay.
So we want it's 100% Chardonnay, and we do this with all our wines, is we want that fruit to speak for itself. We don't want to do anything as winemakers and cover that up, but we believe in beautiful farming practices that result in excellent fruit, and we think all the hard work is done in the vineyard and not necessarily in the cellar. The winemaker's just there to make sure he doesn't mess anything up on the way.
Yes, this smells delicious. It makes me want to have a glass.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a tease. But yeah, I think as we finally take a sip on the palate, there's two ways a Chardonnay can go. You can get that super oaky, buttery, and you can get that crisp, minerally, kind of more refreshing. And I think this is kind of right in between, to where it's definitely a little bit rounded off because, like we said, there is a little bit of oak here, but it's very refreshing. There's a medium plus acidity on this, to where it's still super food friendly. This is my go-to wine for fresh oysters, but it's got enough of a backbone to even stand up to like a fettuccine alfredo. So it's super versatile.
Very good. I could definitely see this pairing with oysters. Here in America, people love their oysters. So
yeah, Chilean sea bass.
Oh
another go-to. Yeah, any seafood really.
That would be fantastic. Did we get a question?
Yeah, I was gonna. If anybody wants to add anything as to the aroma or the palate, I always think it's fun to get as much feedback as possible. See what you guys are tasting, and there's nothing that's too weird to throw out there. I'll never forget. I was pouring a Pinot Noir for somebody, and they're like, "Oh, cherry cola," and then they were like, "You know what?" And I smell a little bit of new Halloween costume, and after that, I was like, "That's weird, but I get it." So, there's no tasting note that's too obscure to throw out there. So
yes, I always tell everybody's palate is different, so everybody's gonna get something different off of the wines usually. So it looks like you have some questions.
Let's see.
The acid backbone and how age-worthy this Chardonnay is.
That is a great question. So Chardonnay is a lot of fun to age. So the oldest Chardonnay I've had for this particular wine was back to 2014, and that was just a couple days ago, and that was still drinking totally fine. So when you age a wine, the two things you want to really look for is kind of a lower alcohol content, as well as a high acidity. So as long as if you got those two things, you can put it away for a long time. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Bottle Shock, but Chateau Montelena, I was able to have a 1988 Chardonnay, and that was back in 2017, and it was still drinking incredible. So I think that's something you just got to experiment with, and put some away. Don't touch them for 5 years if you've got the restraint. I definitely don't, but yeah, it's fun to experiment.
Yes. What color was that 1988 Chardonnay? Was it still holding up its color as well? No,
it was definitely. The color had gotten so much more dark and intense, borderline copper. But yeah, it was awesome.
Wow. Just says this would be great. Standing up to Maryland crabs as well. She loves that it's not super buttery. It's just nice and creamy, but not overwhelming like some other California Chards. I do think California has that reputation for overly oaken Chardonnays.
Right.
But I think a lot of wineries are coming out of that now and getting more into the stainless steel Chardonnay.
I totally agree. Yeah, and again, like I said, Craig and Doug, our director of winemaker and our winemaker, firmly believe in that hands-off winemaking approach. So we really don't want the fruit to be tainted at all in the glass. So I think this is a great representation of Chardonnay as a varietal. Awesome. And then here is our two proprietors, Craig and Nancy Stoller. So that's Nancy on the left. She's super involved in the day-to-day. She likes to help out with things on the marketing side. She's in the tasting room a lot on the weekends. And like I said, Craig is still our director of winemaking. So they are, Alicia's had the opportunity to meet them, and yeah, they're just awesome people.
They're fantastic. They're such nice people. Hopefully I can get back out there again. Yep, there we all are.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's the whole team.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun out there. It's definitely worth a trip out to San Luis Obispo and Paso Robles area. Take it all in.
Absolutely. especially if you're a wine drinker or beer for that matter. We got a lot of both.
Yeah, we actually, after we went to the pickup party, my other teammates and I, we went to a couple other wineries, and then we went to a hard cider place.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah, we
that's
got
fun too.
Tin City Cider is close by, and that's awesome cider.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was in like an industrial area.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And then how did the aging change the Paris Valley Road Chardonnay?
Yeah, good question. So, and again, I think colors just kind of, and again, think about a wine. It's put in a bottle and it goes up, up, up till it hits its peak, and then it starts to decline. So when you get a wine on the way up, you're just going to see colors, aromas intensifying. You're going to see the mouthfeel kind of changing a little bit, getting more weight on the palate. And with the PVR Chard in particular, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say you should put our wines away for 10 years and you should totally age them, because we make these wines to be, everyday lifestyle wines. But definitely a lot more intense aromas. But yeah, not even anywhere close to turning. So that was a good sign.
Yeah. And Marty says, and if you go to Paso, don't miss fish gaucho.
Marty knows what he's talking about. Fish gaucho is my favorite restaurant in Paso. So that's, yeah, he's got good taste.
Very nice. Well,
Awesome.
shall we move on to our first red of the evening?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Grab my red glass. And for our first red tonight, we are having the Zinfandel.
What vintage of the Zin are you on?
We are on 2016.
2016? Okay, awesome. We're on the same.
Okay.
All right. Just wanted to double check.
Might be ahead of us out there in California.
All right, Alicia, what are you getting on the color?
All right, color, we have, I don't know if I can see it in here too. The nice dark kind of like cranberry color going on here. I don't know if you guys can see it here. Hopefully you have it in your glass too, and you can hold it up to the light. But not really any, like maybe a slight purple hues in this. But I'm definitely getting a lot more like cranberry color here. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think cranberry is a good way to put it. And as we move into the nose, that's what I'm smelling. I smell red fruits, kind of cranberries jumping out.
Yes, lots of red fruit berries.
One of my favorite descriptors, and I think it holds very true with this Zen, is cherry Jolly Rancher. It almost gives that perception, that aromatic perception of sweetness, but then as you go to the palate, it's not necessarily a sweet wine, but it's, yeah, and then
what are you guys getting on the nose? Tell us in the comments. I'm getting like, yeah. I would skip the cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving and have this instead.
There we go. Awesome. And yeah, I think you can tell right away on the aroma, this wine definitely shows restraint, which, like I said, hands-off winemaking. Let the fruit speak. I think with a lot of Zins, you get wine that smells like you could almost pour it on pancakes, to where it's so jammy. But I think this wine, definitely shows restraint, lower alcohol, and just a beautiful, beautiful bouquet.
Yeah. And now out in the Paso Robles area, you guys get a lot of higher alcohol content generally out there. Do you want to tell all the viewers why that is? Yeah,
so the hotter an area is, typically the more alcohol you get, because alcohol directly comes from how much sugar is in a grape. And if a grape is just getting cooked by heat, the sugar levels can go way, way up. So we do try to pick early and try to get ahead of that, because that's not the style that we're necessarily going for. But again, alcohol in wine really comes from the time the fruit is picked, and then also the terroir and the kind of climate that supports that growing season for the grape.
You guys have nice, cool evenings out there still in Paris Valley. Or
Yeah, absolutely. It can be 110 degrees during the day, and then every night during the summer, the fog can roll in and cool us
oh, wow.
off to the high 40s. That's kind of a benefit of that coastal diurnal shift, which also helps our fruit ripen really evenly and kind of over a slow, long growing season.
Heather says, yum. I think she's enjoying the Zinfandel. And Jess says she's definitely getting some cherry and cranberry and a little bit of tobacco on the nose.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely get the tobacco. Now, our winemaker always on this, Doug, likes to throw out holiday baking spice. And that's going to come a little bit naturally from the fruit, but also the 22 months that is spent on new French oak. So you get a lot of that cinnamon, anise, other baking spices coming from that French oak.
Yeah, see, the cranberries, the holiday baking spices is making me think Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, I want Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. If you've ever had a British Starburst, I get a blackcurrant Starburst on the nose.
Ooh, I'll need to look out for those.
Yeah, I have not had that.
Awesome, yeah. I love the participation though. Anything else you guys want to share on this wine?
It smells delicious.
So I will say I always like to go back to food pairings with wine because I think wine and food are meant to be together. And out here in Paso Robles, it's tri-tip country. So tri-tip sandwich with a little bit of pico de gallo is our go-to pairing with Zinfandel. But really, any barbecued meat is going to go with Zinfandel really, really well.
Okay, I will have to try that when post-pregnancy, when I can have some Zen and some tri-tip with some pico.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cherry and cranberry. Yeah, now I'm curious about the British Starburst.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We had a lot of fun when we came out there to visit. We got to stay in one of the houses out there on the properties and explore all of the vineyards you guys have. I mean, you guys have acres and acres.
There we go.
Yeah. There's Eric and I on the front porch.
That's awesome. Yeah, that property is something else.
It is. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just surrounded by grapevines. So
absolutely. You know, and kind of, yes, I was going to say, speaking of vineyards, so like I said, that 320 acre vineyard up in, it's, North Paso Robles. This is actually an adobe house that was built in the late 1800s that is right in the middle of the vineyard. So kind of a cool little thing. If you have the chance to come visit us, you can drive out there and check it out. But we're right along on Highway 101. It's the Mission Trail. So there's a mission in San Luis Obispo. And as you go up, San Miguel. And this is right in between the San Luis Obispo and San Miguel missions. So we don't really know the history behind it, but it's a very cool adobe and just a little neat feature of the vineyard. And I think we've got another shot of the vineyard too that just to kind of.
We went and checked out the adobe house when we were out there.
Awesome. Yeah, and here's another shot of the vineyard, and I just think it adds to the sense of place where the vines you were seeing right now is the vines that provided this wine.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Another shot right there. Love the windmill.
Yeah.
That's not so pretty. So that's right in the middle of summer where we're desperate need of some water, but the vines are green. But yeah, the hills are a little brown there.
Yes, you guys are right next to the desert.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good pictures. Sweet.
Austin wants to know if any of your vines get affected by the fires last year.
That's a great question. So we had about a 5-day period where we had some of the worst air quality in the world, where our AQI index was almost 500 for a straight week. And that was right before harvest, right before we're about to pull our fruit. Oh, no. And, we were scared. I mean, it was really, really scary. Luckily, all of our fruit was totally fine. In fact, this year's vintage is tasting awesome. I think we were just so far along in the ripening season that we were safe. We did so we sourced some Pinot Noir from the Santa Lucia Highlands up by Monterey, and we lost our entire 2020 vintage from smoke taint just because where that vineyard was, it sat in a valley and the smoke just cooked right there. And unless you like Pinot Noir that tastes like cigarettes and barbecue sauce, yeah. So we went ahead and just skipped that vintage altogether.
Wow.
But it's a trip when you're talking about smoke taint, because you can go up and eat the grapes off the vine and you won't taste smoke at all. Not until you have that initial primary fermentation will all those smoke compounds be released to where you can perceive them with your actual taste. So we ran what are called micro fermentations, where we took patches of fruit and fermented them in buckets, and that's how we were able to tell that our fruit was safe.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. And Marty wants to know what kind of tree that was in the photo.
That is an oak tree. Yeah, there's tons of oak trees all over the Central Coast, and a lot scattered throughout our vineyards.
Okay. That was a beautiful photo.
Awesome. But yeah, we were very fortunate that we only lost our Pinot Noir with the fires, but
wow.
We count our blessings, and it could have been a lot worse.
Yes. Definitely. Thank goodness it didn't have all the destruction that Napa and Sonoma has with the fire.
Absolutely.
Shall we move on to our next wine, which is the Cabernet?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Maybe like one last sniff of the Zinfandel. It smells delicious. Jess says she is loving the Zin, such an intense mouthfeel and on the palate.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess.
All right, so next up we have the Paris Valley Road Cabernet. You guys want to?
So, do you want to go? Do you have something?
Oh, no, I'm just going to say make sure you get that poured so you can taste it along. Let us know what you're smelling and tasting in the comments.
Yeah, so you guys have been doing a lot of wine tastings. You might be kind of surprised to see Cabernet poured before a Merlot, and that's definitely by design. And again, it comes down to the way these wines are made, to where each year is totally different, and each varietal is different every year. And that's that hands-off winemaking approach. So this year in 2017, for whatever reason, our Cabernet it's drinking awesome. It just didn't get as big as a normal Paso Cabernet would. So as you'll taste, it's definitely medium body, medium acidity, medium alcohol. It's just a very even keel cab. So I think this would be a great kind of gateway Cabernet for somebody that can be put off by the intense tannins of stereotypical Paso cab. And I think, like I said, just a great kind of gateway to cab.
Very nice. And this has a nice plum color to it. You guys can see that here. Nice plum color in here.
Yeah, beautiful color. And again, just a little bit light. Let's see. Yeah, and then on the nose, you still have a little bit of red fruit, but I'm getting a little bit of earth and almost eucalyptus too on the nose.
Yes, I was going to say it's not as fruity as the Zinfandel was.
Right.
Carrie says, yes, that explains why I like it so much.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so North Paso. So all these wines are from that same Chalk Knoll vineyard up in North Paso Robles.
Very nice. And what are you guys getting on the palate of this wine? Let me know. Let a pregnant woman know so that I can live through you all.
So definitely tan in there like you'd expect, but not overpowering at all. Very approachable. And again, that makes it food friendly as well. So this kind of allows you to pair cab with something that you might not typically pair with a cab.
Okay. What would you pair with?
So I poured this lineup for a chef not too long ago. We're going to put together a menu for a wine dinner. And so we poured the Zinfandel, and he's going in. He was like, "Oh, I almost want to pair this with a chocolate mousse with some, raspberries." All these kind of exquisite pairings. And we get to the cab, takes a smell, and he's like, "You know what? This would be a really good pepperoni pizza wine."
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not taking that as an insult. Like that I can get on board with that. And I tried it, and this is, if you're looking for a good go-to pizza wine,
there we
this
go.
is phenomenal. You can, it's an everyday drinker, and just yeah. I just figured out somebody's weekend plans. I know it.
Yes. Austin asks, is it true that California, you can label the wine by a varietal as long as it is 75% in the juice, 25 can be whatever else the winery decides to blend in?
Awesome. That is absolutely true. So yeah, 75% has to be the varietal to name it. So this is guaranteed to be 75% or more Cabernet. And then the winemaker has that residual 25% to kind of play with. So this is actually 100% Cab, nothing else in there. But I should have brought up with the Zinfandel, we do blend in a little bit of Petite Sirah just to kind of round out the mouthfeel and give it a little bit more structure and a little bit more tannins.
Very nice.
But what we're drinking right now, great representation of Cab, because that's all that's in this glass.
It smells delicious. And Carrie says it's delicious with our steak, sweet potato biscuits, and green beans.
Oh my gosh. That sounds great.
Sounds really good. And Jess says this is a good go-to couch wine.
Love that. Definitely a couch wine.
It is. I mean, a good red on really any night is good couch wine.
Any wine can be a couch wine. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, Craig just strives to make the best wine he possibly can while keeping it in that sweet spot of a price point to where these can be enjoyed on a regular basis. And I think that's what makes these wines so much fun, is they're simple enough in a way that you can drink them throughout the week, but there's also enough complexity there to entertain even the most seasoned wine drinker. So I think all these wines would make excellent gifts so yeah, you're not going to disappoint anybody.
Yes, all the Paris Valley Road wines are at the $15 price point around here in Maryland. So excellent wine to just have any day of the week, really.
Right. Yeah, and we did bring up the Founders Blend that just got that awesome press.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't had the Founders Blend, highly recommend. We've been talking about this Chalk Knoll vineyard all night, and this is a great representation. Literally every red varietal that we grow in that vineyard is put together for this blend. And our winemaker Doug says over and over again, if he had to pick one wine to kind of be the spokesperson for the winery and be his best foot forward, it's this guy right here. So highly recommend you guys jump on it at any opportunity to try it.
Very nice. The Paris Valley Road Founders Blend is delicious also.
Yeah, that's it.
I have it on tonight, but if you didn't get it, make sure you try it because it is so good. And then I think Jess asked, how much wine do you make each year of the different varietals?
That's a great question. And it totally depends on, again, yield, what else we have going on at the winery with other programs. But I would say it's a safe bet to where we're right around, because a couple thousand cases per varietal. So right around, 15,000 cases in total.
Right.
So yeah, definitely not a huge winery. And those numbers do change.
I have a question for you. Like you said, you did your first harvest when you were a junior in high school. I mean, that's unheard of out here on the East Coast. Nobody would be involved in a winery that young unless, of course, it was their family's winery. So is that something you did through school? Is that a normal age out there?
I don't know if it's normal, but it was the summer. So I didn't work a full harvest. It was, 2.5 months while I wasn't in school. And yeah, it was awesome. And again, at that time, I had no really interest in drinking wine. I didn't have a palate for wine. it was just the culture that came with the wine industry and some of the people that I was able to meet and connect with, living in wine country for that 2.5 month period. I just fell in love with it. And again, I think it's the people and the culture that comes with wine that keeps me still interested today.
Definitely. I mean, that's how I got involved in wine, and I just love it. So I know
you can't be grumpy when you're surrounded by wine all day.
Exactly. I know out in California, I saw once that they actually have the Future Farmers of America have their CDE competitions and wine. So I didn't know, or
oh wow,
wine, but like in the vineyards they have a competition which we don't have here in Maryland. I definitely text my ag teacher about that because I was like, we didn't have this, but I wish we could have something like that in Maryland. But I'm sure it's just part of the culture out there in California.
Absolutely. Sweet. Yeah, and then Austin, I just saw a question roll in about the new tasting room. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so we've been making these wines for a couple years, but up until just a few months ago, these wines didn't necessarily have a home. We just finished construction on a brand new tasting room right next to our production facilities. Alicia, you were able to see it right as it got purchased.
Yeah.
So totally different now. We opened in the heart of COVID, so obviously a crazy time to open, especially here in California. But we're off to the races, and we've got some pictures, I think, of the outside of it at least. And yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful tasting room that came together really, really well. There it is. So that's outside. That's our completed patio. So right now we're only doing outdoors.
I was out there.
Yeah. So there it is. And then I think, then that's the front of our production facility. So underneath through those doors, it's all production. That's where our winemaking team spends their time. And right above, we have our offices. So yeah, I would love to host you guys.
Yes, that is beautiful. I would love to come back out and see the completed tasting room in person.
Absolutely.
It looks so nice. Marcus,
all right. Are there
any new varietals for Paris Valley Road in the future?
So I think yes and no. So we're always fooling around with new varietals, kind of new experiments. If you come visit us in the tasting room, nothing you find in the tasting room will be something that you can buy in stores. So we do all kinds of weird stuff in the tasting room. Like we've got a Cab Franc, Petite Verdot, some Sauvignon Blancs. But yeah, we're always fooling around. We are thinking about doing a Grenache Blanc blend that might go out at some point. But yeah, for right now, we're going to stick with our core varietals as far as what we put out in the marketplace.
Yeah. I think when I was out there, I saw a sparkling wine in the works.
There is, the sparkling wine is completed and it's awesome. And that's what we do is like a little welcome pour when you come and come through our tasting room doors.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah. So great question. We were impressed by what we found with Rhone varietals and Rhone blends. Does PVR have any products in that realm, or are you headed for anything like that? So I think I don't know. Do you guys have access to Sextant wines out there? Alicia?
Our distribution company does not have access to it.
Okay. So the owners of Paris Valley Road actually own a winery called Sextant, and it's relatively big here on the Central Coast. And Sextant focuses strictly on Rhones, Zinfandels, but definitely heavy on the Rhone side. And through Paris Valley Road, this is how the Stollers are kind of exploring the realm of Bordeaux. So they're definitely focused on being a Bordeaux house, and probably won't see us doing any Rhones under the Paris Valley Road or Paris Valley Road line anytime soon.
That's a good question.
There's another, yeah.
Oh, you guys have food. Is it like a full restaurant at the?
It is a full restaurant. We've got an in-house chef. His name is Joe White, and he is very, very talented. He makes a duck grilled cheese that I could eat every single day.
Oh, wow.
And it's it's just super good food.
That sounds delicious. Should we go to our last wine, the Merlot?
Let's do it. All right.
All right, so our last red of the evening is the Merlot.
All right. So Merlot is funny. I don't know how many of you saw the movie Sideways, or know kind of that story about that movie kind of throwing off the trajectory of Merlot. Yeah, after that movie came out, I guess there was a few comments made that kind of poo-pooed Merlot, and after that, the popularity kind of just went a little bit downhill. And what Craig firmly believes in is not changing, basically not changing production to kind of curb with the ebbs and flows of what people like. So he's not trying to keep up with fads. He's just going to make the wine he loves and the wine he's passionate about. And one of those wines is Merlot. So our winemaking team has dubbed this "Not Your Mama's Merlot," because it is a new take on Merlot. It's a huge wine. Thus the reason that we're pouring it at the end of the lineup, and it's fat and cleanup. So it's just super tannic, and for whatever reason, in 2017, just the way the weather was, the kind of year we had, it just ended up being the biggest wine to come out of our Chalk Knoll vineyard.
Yes, I'm getting more purple hues to this wine. Definitely a little bit darker in color than what we started with on
right.
the Zinfandel.
And to be fair, we were talking about blends earlier. So we did blend in 20% Cabernet to kind of almost round it out a little bit, because the Merlot on its own was so tannic. So this softened it up a little bit.
Made it a little bit of like licorice on the nose.
Yeah, licorice for sure. So when we talk Cab, we talk Zin, a lot of red fruits. With Merlot, for some reason, I always think blue fruits, to where on this, I'm getting like blueberry cobbler.
Yes.
And again, baking spice coming from the barrel aging. So it's spent 18 months on French oak. So if you are getting any baking spice, a little spiciness, any cinnamon, that's where that's coming from. And food pairings with Merlot, I mentioned the duck grilled cheese sandwich earlier. Merlot, because we do wine pairings in our restaurant, and Malbec and Merlot is what we like to serve with our duck. So yeah, it's just definitely yeah, you can kind of pair it with anything, but definitely steak, red meats, lamb, anything gamey, venison.
Okay.
Works really well with.
Right. Just as this is such a cool Merlot, I often find them a little boring, but this is not. Well, like he said, this is not your mama's Merlot.
I love it.
Carrie asks, what's the difference between American and French oak?
That's a great question. Yeah, so American oak, French oak, so they are similar, but I always like to think of American oak as being a little bit more in your face, where it's a little bit spicier. You're getting a little bit more vanilla and a little bit more cinnamon, and it's just a little bit more pronounced. To whereas French oak is always meant to be a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more subtle than American oak. And I mean, there's all kinds of studies on that, but to me, that's kind of what I kind of latch onto when trying to distinguish the difference between the two.
Do you guys mainly use French oak at Paris Valley Road?
Yeah, I mean, we do use a little bit of everything, but primarily French oak. And like we were talking about Sextant earlier, they're fooling around with Hungarian oak, which is even a little bit more almost pronounced than American oak. So it's yeah, there's all kinds of oaks out there, and you can use anything, but French and American are definitely the most popular.
What are you guys tasting in this Merlot? Feel free to share with us over in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you're pairing it with anything tonight for dinner, let us know that also. The venison suggestion sounds good.
Awesome. Oh, we got some fans of the Merlot. This is awesome. Let's bring Merlot back. That's the mission of Craig Stollers. He wants to bring Merlot back.
Gina says PBR wines are fantastic. Wish they were in Florida. Gina will have to send you some. Jesse loves the Merlot. Very nice.
Awesome. So glad to see that y'all are enjoying it. And I mean, this last year has been crazy for everybody, but the one kind of cool thing that's come from it is that, we can make our wines accessible to those all the way even across the country and do virtual tastings like this. Whereas before, you're really only hearing the story and hearing about the wines if you walk through our tasting room doors. So I think that is one positive, and I've honestly loved having the opportunity to do these virtual tastings. So, yeah.
Thank you for joining us all the way from California, Blake. We love that we can do
Absolutely. Well, it's only 4:50 here. I'm not even off work, so this is a good way to get out of the office.
This is your happy hour before you go home. Yes, I'm definitely getting like blueberry pie on this. It smells. All of these wines smell delicious and makes me want to have a glass. But I hope everybody's having a glass for me.
We are. We're picking up the slack. I'm curious about East Coast wineries too. What are some of your favorite wine regions over there to go visit? What is I know Virginia's got some fun stuff going on.
Virginia has a lot of great wineries. Maryland has more and more wineries popping up all the time. It seems like there's new wineries. The Finger Lakes up in New York have some terrific wineries. That's really like East Coast regions. Okay. Virginia, Finger Lakes. I mean, every state has wineries now, supposedly, but those are the ones that, I mean, obviously in Maryland, it's easy to get to wineries in your backyard. I have been over to some of the Virginia ones, and it's great because in Maryland, I know they experiment with a lot of different types of grape varietals, so you get some not so typical wines over here too that you would not find from like California.
I see Jessica just said, I feel like Maryland and Virginia are starting to really find their own terroir. Yeah, I think that's awesome too. And we even saw that in Paso, to where we're down here in Paso Robles. You had a lot of places trying to emulate what they're doing up in Napa. And so I think that's awesome when people have the confidence in their terroir and just kind of lean into and grow what kind of Mother Nature can support the best. And I think that's when regions start seeing the most success. So that's awesome.
Carrie says we tend to have some sweet wines in Maryland. That's very true. There's a lot of fruit wines in Maryland. It seems like a lot of wineries get started making fruit wines, and then once their grapevines mature, they get into different grape varietals.
Gotcha.
Cool climate varietals going on in Finger Lakes. Yes, the Finger Lakes have a lot of great Rieslings and Gewürztraminers even up there too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I need to get out your guys' way.
Yes, definitely come out this way. Go around to a bunch of wineries.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the lineup. Is there any questions, whether it's vineyard practices, winemaking, questions about our brand you guys would like answered? And again, there's no dumb question.
Yes. Let's see. Jesse says, I've only been to Great Frogs in Maryland, which I love. Any others people enjoy in Maryland? Ooh, there's a lot of great wineries in Maryland, Jesse. Out this way towards like the Frederick area, Black Ankle, Hidden Hills, those are all really great. Elk Run is out this way. There's a lot of great wineries on the Eastern Shore. I mean, they're just all over the place now.
Nice.
And Jess said the Eastern Shore has some really cool vineyards. Anybody have any other questions about California wines from Paso Robles area? Can you help wine newbies understand how to tell what they are tasting?
As far as like guessing varietal, or just what's going on in the in the mouth?
Probably like the different flavors going on in the
Okay.
wine.
Yeah. So that's definitely kind of, I think, a personal thing to where everybody kind of learns it at their own rate. And it sounds funny, but I think the best way to like do it is by practicing. And again, there's no wrong answers. And I think the most important question when drinking a wine is if you like it or not. Because really nothing else matters if you just don't enjoy the experience when it's in your glass and when you're tasting it. But yeah, I find it's really helpful too. I actually had to take a wine tasting class in college, which was a lot of fun. But you know, you hear us talk about like Cabernet. We threw out cassis, cobbler, cinnamon, some weird spices. It's really helpful if you have these spices on the side and you can kind of smell and like really see what cassis and blackcurrant, things like that actually smell like, and then go back to the wine, and then you can kind of pinpoint certain things. But again, most important thing, and I think people start losing interest in wine when you start overthinking it. I think that's the worst thing you can do. Is wine's really simple. It's you like it or you don't like it.
Very true. I always tell people there's no wrong answers. So.
Right. That's like when I had new Halloween costume thrown at me, like that, super obscure. I understood what he was talking about, and I haven't forgotten about it. No wrong answers.
Gina wants to know if Paris Valley Road wines will be in Florida. Will be available in Florida.
That's a great question. That's a little beyond my pay grade, but I can do some research on that.
We can work on that. Marty
I'll put a bug in my boss's ear.
Yeah. Marty wants to know about the sparkling wine.
Yeah, so we do a sparkling wine, and it's direct to consumer only. So when you come through our tasting room doors, we're going to hand you a glass of sparkling. It's kind of a welcome, welcome to the winery. So
very nice.
Good way to
a tasting room.
Right.
Gina's happy if it comes to Florida.
Awesome. I'll do my best, Gina.
And Marty says it starts with just liking it or not, and then if you're interested, you try and understand it is that you look
Absolutely.
about the wine, why it's in there. Yes, very true.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think your palate grows and changes over time. Like my dad, when he first started drinking wine, only wanted the big Lodi Zins, wines with huge alcohol contents, really big fruit bombs. And it's been kind of fun as he's tasted and drank more and more wine and visited different wineries, how that has slowly shifted, and now he's really into delicate whites. So it all comes full circle, and you know, there's so many wines out there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yes, just keep trying different wines, and you'll find something you like. That's for sure.
There's something out there for everybody.
There is. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed these wines tonight. Blake, thank you so much for joining us and telling us all about Valley Road. All of these wines smell delicious, and I can't wait to drink them again after September. Yeah. So I hope everybody had a glass or two for me. Continue drinking. And not next week, in 2 weeks on April 22nd, we have our next virtual Vino coming up, and those again are all spring wines. We have the Lion and Dove Rosé, the Chateau Bordeaux Berkelan Seniorial from Spain, and Tonel 22 Malbec from Argentina. And make sure you like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Tomorrow starts a giveaway on Instagram for some wine charms. So those will be up tomorrow. Make sure you head over to our Instagram and like us there so you can enter for your chance to win those wine charms. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Blake, thank you again. Cheers.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much, and hope everybody has an awesome Friday and a great weekend. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend.
All right. Cheers.